RealAgriculture.com's coverage of Canada's outdoor farm show is brought to you by C&M Seeds, Becker Underwood, and Pride Seeds. We're here today on RealAgriculture.com. We're here with Moe Agostino. We're at Canada's outdoor farm show. Welcome today, Moe.
Thank you.
Moe, let's talk about corn. Corn's been on an interesting run as of late. Where are we at with corn? We're close to $5, but yes. What's kind of the prognosis going forward?
Well, we since July we've kind of turned the corner. I mean, everybody was worried about supply. The first half, looking for 170 per bushel acre yield in the U.S., and all of a sudden the yields are not there. I just came back from Boone, Iowa, and farm progress down there in the States, and the lower state yields are disappointing, and now I'm hearing that the northern states that had the 250 plus yields last year per acre, they're short probably by 10 to 30. So the national average is going to be lower. USDA was looking for 165 in August. We're now down to 162.5. That's a problem. A lower yield, even though the crop looks like maybe a record crop compared to other years, the lower yield is not enough to meet the demand. The global demand is very strong right now. So now the market's thinking that we could have a 160 or lower per bushel yield in the coming months. And that's a problem because that's taking ending stocks to an 03-04 low at 1.16 billion bushels. If you go back to 07-08 highs, in September of 07, the ending stocks was 1675. So in the coming months, if yields are that low, and if that September 30th stocks report, where the USDA may draw down more old crop corn, we could see new crop ending stocks or carry out down as low as 800 million. And that's a big problem moving in the field as 11. So the market's going to have to ration demand at higher prices. And that's why we're at 5. And I think at some point over the coming months, we could even see a $5.50 or $6 futures gains.
Wow, so depending if you're a buyer or a seller, you've got a different opinion on if that's good or bad.
Good question.
I guess, is there a high probability of that, or is that just like one of those could happens?
No, there's a high probability of that, unfortunately, because there's just no, you need about 1 billion bushels in the States to keep things going. There's a whole debate about that ethanol mandate. That's also a problem too, because if they decide to go to from 10 to 15% ethanol mandate percentage in a lot of U.S. cars, that's going to chew up a lot more bushels going forward, and the market's not going to like that. You're going to need another 2-3 billion bushels in ethanol usage. So going forward, we're going to need the yields. We're going to need the 170 plus yields. Monsanto better be right when they say that we're going to continue to increase the national average over time, because if we don't, as long as global demand continues to grow and improve, we're going to have issues. You remember in 2008, the reason why corn went from $7.50 to $3 a bushel was we finally experienced a very nasty recession, financial global recession. Over the coming years, I don't know if we're going to really do that. In fact, we may actually just continue to grow this global economy, and if we do, we could have prolonged higher feed costs than we did see in 2008. But as you know, when you get to $5, $6, $7 corn, financially it doesn't really make sense for a lot of people in the business. Funds go nuts. They're long right now, very long, longer than they were in 08, long about 450,000 contracts. But at some point they can use any excuse to start taking profits, and when they go the opposite way, it's going to be hard. So
okay, so if you're a seller of corn, if you got corn in the field and you're harvesting it, what are some things that you need to be thinking about from a marketing standpoint?
Yeah, well, again, it depends on whether you have storage or not, but storage can be expensive whether you have it or not, and you really got to know what you're doing there too. But for a producer who probably has some bills coming due in the fall, winter months, typically that's when the bills come due. If you haven't sold anything to date, you're getting a little lucky with futures. Your basis locally in Ontario is a little bit wider, but nonetheless, if you're going to an ethanol plant end user, you can sell corn for about $4.70 a bushel. That's pretty high. The weighted average in 2008 actually was lower than $4.20. This year it might be around $4.40. That's an historic high. So these are very good prices. If you got some good crops out there with some yield, manage your cash flow, manage your risk volatility. You got a lot of money you're risking right now. And it's not that corn can go to 6 or 7, but corn can go back to 3, and if it does, you're not going to make a dime.
Right. So let's talk about from a buyer standpoint. We have a lot of feed yards in Canada. What should they be thinking about right now?
Well, we told our clients to book out to the end of the year on feed, and that was done at lower prices. But Right now, you're probably chasing this thing. Nothing goes up in a straight line. At some point, we will see some sort of correction. So I would suggest any feed yards that are looking to book feed, perhaps wait for some, 50 cent to $1 correction. And on that correction, that's when I would perhaps lock in a lower feed cost.
So between now and the end of the year, could we see like a 50 cent to $1 correction? Is that possible?
It's unlikely because of what's happening with the crop in the States. USDA is probably going to have to give us some sort of bearish report, and at this point I just don't see it. So I'm hoping for that, but right now it's a small probability.
If we do see let's just say we do see $6 corn by the end of the year as a possibility, where does that put the ethanol program in the U.S.?
It puts it in, it depends on where oil prices are. Obviously you need oil prices to remain quite high. For this time of the year, they're actually in that 76, 77 range. Seasonally, we tend to go down. So, it starts to, ethanol since 08's been up and down, depending on these variables. And, the U.S. government's thinking of reevaluating some of those tariffs from Brazil and some of those tax incentive credits for those ethanol plants. As long as they remain intact, I think the ethanol plants will survive. Right now, they're making as much as 20-25 cents profit per gallon, even with corn at $5. So they're going to make obviously less money. But if oil goes back to $10 a barrel for whatever reason, obviously that makes no sense whatsoever. But don't think that's a probability. As long as these guys can make money, they're going to continue to put up ethanol plants. If they increase that ethanol mandate, it's just going to create more demand for ethanol.
Cool, Mo. Hey, really appreciate it, and good luck with the rest of the show.
Thank you.